Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. Tonight, it is our honor. We are joined by Oscar and Emmy nominated veteran actor Bruce Davison, who you can catch him most recently in the show 1923. Bruce, thank you so much for being our guest tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, John. It's great to be here. Let's see what you're going to throw at me. What sticks on the wall.
With someone with your resume, it is so difficult. Just what do you talk about? There's just so much stuff to talk about. So we're going to start off with 1923.
Okay.
You play the role of Arthur. Star-studded show. 1923 is a prequel to Yellowstone, sequel to 1883. Arthur played a big role in the finale that just premiered several days ago. What were your initial impressions of Arthur, and what kind of approach did you use to portray him?
Well, first of all, there's two Arthurs.
Hmm.
The one is my son, who's the Earl of Sussex, and I'm the Lord of Sussex. So
Yep.
we're frightfully British, and we're from our family is where Julia Alex
Yep.
comes from. She's engaged to my son, and at the beginning she runs off with Brandon, with Spencer's character,
Yep.
and and we catch up with them at the end, and poo begins to fly a bit
Yeah.
as we.
Yeah. You could definitely say that. Going back to the cast, I mean, star-studded with Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren, yourself. Tell us what it's like to be on the set with so much talent and experience. What's the atmosphere like?
It's like a big train, or in my case, a big ocean liner moving straight ahead. You better get on, and you better be able to catch on as fast as it's moving. I really had a great time because the director Ben Richardson is started as a cameraman, a cinematographer, and lots of times you work with cinematographers and they're not as connected to the actors, but he was so brilliant with just a word or two with what he would say to an acting performance to get just what he wanted out of it. And I was amazed that he got the vista, the David Lean kind of vista that he got, and then the wonderful performances, the intimacy of those all in one bag. That's he's a multi-talented man.
Nice. Now, when you got the role as Arthur for 1923, were you familiar with the whole Yellowstone and how, I mean, I'm sure you knew how
Well,
popular
I
it
was
was.
familiar more with 1883. I
Okay.
loved that show, and I love all of them in it. I've seen Sam around. We a lot of times different auditions. Being doing this for 50 years, everybody knows everybody except
Mm-hmm.
for the people coming up. And I just thought that was wonderful, the way it was done, the way that every character spoke in a way in which you immediately knew who they were, or you got a sense of reality and authority about them as a
Yeah,
person, no matter
absolutely.
who they were, the one line parts or anything. And that's also what happened in 1923. I felt you look back at that, and every single character is so individual and so acknowledged. And that's why you see so many, Timothy Dalton and
Mm-hmm.
Peter Stormare and all the people that just jump in. It was really not an experience you often get.
No, no,
So,
I can
but it's
imagine.
you got to keep up with the big boys.
Now, let's talk about some of your upcoming stuff. You have a movie coming out, From the Shadows, which is coming out later this year. You're
Yeah.
co-starring with one of our previous guests, Keith David, uh,
Oh,
co-founders
okay.
of a
Yeah.
suicide cult. What can you
Uh-huh.
tell us about that movie and working with Keith David? What was that like?
Well, that was fun. All of our stuff was 3,000 miles away, so we had to do it in two different studios
Oh my God.
simultaneously. That was fun. We got to catch up afterwards, and I love Keith. I've just wondered at his work over the years. He just has such power to it.
Yeah.
I was afraid he'd sort of just blow me off the screen, but
He
it was
can be a
hard.
little intimidating. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, but he's great. He's a great guy.
he is. He's absolutely
Um,
amazing.
yeah.
Now you have, like we said, 270 credits, over 279 in the works. At this stage in your career, what type of character are you particularly drawn to playing?
Oh, it's so weird. I feel Sam Peckinpah speaking to me, saying, "I go where I'm kicked." Whatever comes along that grabs me. I love to see a character that has a journey, that has somewhere to go, and it's very interesting in 1923 because we're basically background
Hmm?
in the beginning, and we don't come forward until the very last, and then suddenly there we are.
Yeah.
Uh, we're not a distant threat. So the way a character has a journey is always important to me. I always find that interesting, and
Now,
what changes happen.
now that leads me to another question. You have done your fair share of film and television. On film, you basically get the whole character's arc in a 90-minute, 2-hour film, as opposed to television where you get the time to tell it over several episodes. Do you have a
Mhm.
particular preference of which type, you enjoy doing the most?
Everything has stood everything else on its head over all the years that
Yeah.
I've been doing it. It used to be television, was an hour, and then it got bigger. It was 2 hours, and you told the story in that. Now it's 8 episodes or 9 or 12. They've become a novel, and movies are the shorter sort of
That's
version.
true.
I like doing small independent films an
Hmm.
awful lot because if there's a good script and a good story and a new way to tell something, that's always the most exciting and can be much more collaborative too than a big project that you're just running along the side trying to jump on and keep
Spe-
up with everybody.
Speaking of your independent work, you have done some great horror movies. From Along Came the Devil, 1 and 2, Creep Show, which is a television show. Uh, you're a big fixture in the horror genre. How
Mhm.
do you feel about horror? Does it have a special place in your heart?
Well, I love it. I've always, I love writing to Stephen King every time I can. He's always got something fun to say. I guess it goes back to Willard. But
Oh,
even
yeah?
before Willard, I did a thing on one of those creep shows or amazing stories that Steve had written called Word Processor of the Gods, which was before computers. And that was an episode. And then I did Kingdom Hospital, which was a season on TV for him there. But Willard, I guess, sort of put me on the dark trail because once I kissed a rat, I didn't kiss a girl for another 10 years.
Now,
um,
staying on the independent projects for a while, you have done high budget films like X-Men and so on. And again, your independent films. What is it that really draws you to independent work?
I think a good story draws me to anything, first of all. And then secondly, if the character is interesting and has any kind of journey to him. And then on independent films, I get trusted a little bit more and I get to be more of a collaborator for the
Yeah.
most part. So sometimes we're making it together. Not that there's a lot that changes, and I try to honor the writer and the words, but at the same time, you have a freedom to, explore and how something comes out of something else. I just did a film Barbara Crampton was producing, Joe Lynch is directing, and it's with Heather Graham, and it's it's another one of those things, sort of like Reanimator that she did a long
Yeah.
time. And
Barbara
it's
Crampton is great. She was our guest also twice, and just talking to her, a true professional. I asked her a question because she had a small role in this one film we were talking about, and she goes to me, There are no small roles. There are only small actors. She loves that saying. And
Yes, I know she does. It's that big. That's small, right?
so, I mean, yeah, she must have been amazing to collaborate with.
Well,
Not,
I've known Barbara since before she got into Reanimator. I
wow.
knew her years before then, so
And
we go back a long way.
yeah, and talk about an amazing actress, a smart woman. Now,
Mhm.
looking back on your career, what would you what would you say was your defining role? I don't want to say break, your biggest break, but what
Mhm.
role do you give credit for really setting your career in motion?
There are so many careers that I've had that I'd have to pick five or six, and you're typecast after each one. The first one was the Strawberry Statement last summer, and they were my first films.
Mm-hmm.
And then along came Willard, which was a big box office hit. And then
Yeah,
I was kind of a creepy, weird uh, kid for a number of years. And then something else will come along that's more successful. And then I got nominated for Longtime Companion.
mm-hmm.
And then after that, X-Men, I guess, changed. And then you play a lot of senators, a lot of nasty senators, which sort of works into Ozark and everything else. You get
Exactly.
typecast every time something is successful. It seems to be that you got to be kind of careful not to just create the same thing lesser and lesser over and over.
And
But
you've
I'm a character actor, and I started out. I was kind of a young starlet, and then um, became a character actor, and that's always served me because I've been able to play a lot of different parts. It's very interesting. I got to play a British lord in this last one, and now I'm going off to play a fisherman, a West Coast fisherman with Bo Bridges next. So
and you're so right about that. It's very difficult in this industry not to get typecasted. You've done a great job of playing. Like for me, in horror movies in particular, you've played a lot of priests. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
but
yes,
you don't get locked in. You're very versatile where you can play a priest for a year or two in two or three movies and then move on to something completely different. And that's a
yeah.
testament to you right there. You've directed a handful of times. Um,
Mhm.
but it doesn't seem like it's something you're really that interested in, have a passion for. How do you feel about directing? Do you feel like it doesn't let you express yourself
No,
artistically?
just the opposite. I mean, you're in control. You have to be the grown up on the set. And why is that person late again? Well, we're good. And the actor's around, and he says, "When's lunch?" And the director says, "Lunch. We're three shots behind. There is no lunch." You're playing different roles. Um, I directed Hume Cronin in, I guess, what was his last film when he was 94, and he was such a mentor to me over the years because I had worked. I did Glass Menagerie on Broadway with
Yeah.
Jessica. He helped me and guided me through a very stressful time. So I got to work with him as a director, and he was 94, and he
Wow.
got an Emmy nomination for it. I
Yeah.
mean, but he would say, "All right, by August 23rd, I want the script to be locked because I can't keep learning as well as I used to." And I understand that now.
Now,
But
having worked with so many directors in your career, what type of director do you feel brings out the best in you? Is it the calm, collected, get out of your way type of director?
yes, it is. It is. It's someone who trusts you.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my experience. But someone who just can say just the right thing. I remember directing, just working with Ben Richardson. We started to get heavy and involved with me and my son screaming and stuff. And he just walked up and he said, "You're English." Okay.
Matters. Yeah.
And that's it. That's
Yeah.
all you need. All right, now we just pull it down a little.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
It's about
Mm.
knowing just the right thing to say at the right moment.
Yeah.
You spoke.
Robert Young. Oh, sorry. I
No,
didn't
no,
mean.
no, go on.
When I was doing Short Eyes, which was, I think, another great film, prison film, um, I had this 10-minute monologue. They had a big reel that they were shooting with there that goes on and on and on and on and has to start crying hysterically, and it goes from there, through all these levels for 10 minutes
Wow.
as this major confession is in the middle of the film. And you try not to bore anybody, but um, we were shooting in the Tombs, and it was the Tombs before they rebuilt it down in New York.
Uh-huh.
And the Tombs are where the prison were, the holding cells. And I was literally in a cell banging my head against the wall. And he said, "Listen, you're not going to match. You're not going to match if you got a lump on your head. Okay?
Yeah,
You're already there. Action." And boom,
it happens.
it just came. And we just did one take, and that's all we needed, It
Wow.
just worked that way.
That's a great story. Before I
Yeah.
let you go, I want to ask you, you've been in this industry, like you said, for 5 decades. It's changed so much, particularly in the last 10 to 30 years. Do you
Mhm.
think this industry is moving in the right direction? Are you happy with where we are right now?
It, I don't know. That's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
It's just what is. They're not 10,000 extras anymore. There are two guys in Van Nuys working on a computer, making the desert for David Lean, what used to be,
Yeah.
would take years but at
Extras
the
are
same
added in
time,
computers nowadays.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
But all the tricks that are used now, it's amazing what can be accomplished. But it's just like art. There came a period in art in which people discovered perspective, and
Hmm.
suddenly all these pictures were about perspective, and some are great and some really suck.
Hmm.
It's just the way that things evolve, and the evolution of the film television business has been the same thing.
Absolutely. Some things change, some things don't. Bruce, I want to
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on here and just sharing just some of your experiences. You are
Well,
one of
thank
my
you, John.
favorite actors, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. You have any final thoughts before we go?
Oh, wow. I don't want to dissuade anybody from this business because there's nothing like it,
No, there isn't. That's true.
including my own children. but
It's a,
it's important to. Last thing my mother said to me was, "Do good work."
yeah,
And that was always really, she knew how important that was to me. Whatever you're in, and you can be making a bologna sandwich of a movie, or you could be making something spectacular, but just do good work.
yeah. Put all you have into it. I completely agree. Thank you so much. Again, our guest Bruce Davison. Check him out in 1923. I want to thank our audience, those of you who are tuning in live, and those of you who will be watching this later on. On behalf of Bruce and myself, stay safe, good night, and stay walking. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, John.